Welcome back, everybody. What I'm going to be doing here today is I'm going to be showing, just in case anybody's never seen inside one of these, this is the 3.5-inch floppy disk, and this used to be before CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays. It was 3.5-inch floppy disk. Only holds about 1.5 meg, like 1.4 meg, not even gig. But I'm going to be showing what's inside there. You can see that there is a floppy disk inside of a hard case on these, as opposed to the 5 1/4 where the whole thing is floppy. But yeah, the next scene, it's very easy to just kind of pry this piece off. Provided you have two hands free. So as you can see, it pries off really easy. And then it's a matter of splitting the case. We'll see if I can do this with one hand. Okay, so here we go. As you can see, there's a little tiny return spring, and that is just holding, that makes that door slide and return to the closed position. And then inside, you can see this is padded material to allow the disc to slide without scuffing up or binding up on the plastic. And then the whole thing comes out as a floppy disk. Very, very floppy. And then it's padded on the other side as well. So there's really nothing interesting on the disc itself, but something I was noticing the other day is that you can, on a very, very sunny day, you can see through that, especially if you're holding it up to the sky. It's ridiculously reflective. But it had occurred to me, and I have already proved this theory, and I'm kind of going back and refilming it, is that this will allow you to film the sun somewhat safely. Now, some camcorders, like this one, will allow you to point the camera directly at the sun, and it kind of accommodates for it in whatever way it can. As you can see, when I pan back down, the scene will be very funny, and I'll have trouble returning back to it. But if you put something this dark over the lens and then angle this up to the sun, you can now safely film it. And you can also zoom in. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I have the tripod set up over there, and I'm going to set this up on the tripod. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut out a piece of this and tape it directly on the lens. Then hold it up. Hopefully it'll be okay. So this is what I have here so far. It's letting a little bit of light in because I don't have the lens completely covered, but this is at regular zoom. I should mention I have set the ISO manually to 50, as low as it can go, just because it seems as though I need to reduce as much light as I can possibly do. So I'm going to zoom in here and see what happens. To adjust. Okay, it's a challenge to get it to the center of the screen, but I'll get it. Let me zoom in the rest of the way. Okay, so there we are at full zoom, and it's just kind of doing its own thing. I still have it set on automatic exposure and automatic white balance, just so that it can kind of deal with this the best it can. I will probably try several different things. Curious to see here, you can actually see the sun moving there. Interesting. Okay, so here we are. We're looking at the sun through a 3.5-inch diskette. I do wish I could get in closer, but I just can't. Well, you know what? I think I could on... That's the extent of the optical zoom, but I could still go in digital zoom a little bit farther. Okay, here we are again. I have enabled the digital zoom, so let's see what that looks like. Sometimes that gets a little bit garbled. So I think this is basically the extent of the optical zoom, and we'll go in digitally right about here. That's pretty interesting. Well, you can definitely see it moving now. I'll go in just a touch more. Gosh, I'm wondering, are we actually seeing a sunspot there? Maybe. Now, to adjust the tripod at that magnification would be crazy, but I'm going to try it now. That's what I'm doing. I want to zoom in on that sunspot. If that's a sunspot. See if I can do that. Maybe. It's very hard to adjust the tripod. There we go. Okay. So, well, it's moving with the sun, so maybe it is a sunspot. You tell me. This is about January, I don't recall the date, somewhere around the 18th or 19th. Somebody tell me if there was a sunspot right in the middle of the sun that day. And I can't think of what else to do. I'll probably play around with some other settings now. So I'll be right back. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is I have left the ISO at 50, and I have changed the exposure to 1/1000th. And that has kind of taken the orange away, the orange or yellow. But it also took the sunspot away. If that was a sunspot. I'm sorry for shakiness every time I adjust it. It's just, as you can imagine, these are just little hair-sized adjustments, but they're magnified because I'm zoomed in. I'll show you how far I'm zoomed in. Well, which is silly, of course. I think everybody knows where the sun is. It's way over there. So anyway, I think that the next thing I'm going to do is change the f-stop at the same time. So I'll be right back. Okay, so the difference is now, what I have done is I gave up. I did not adjust the aperture. I mean, I did, but it didn't do anything. So I have set the exposure back to automatic on both those values. Now, what I've done here is I have changed the white balance. I picked the preset called Sunny, and this is what I got. I'll zoom in right now. And as you can see, yeah, you can definitely still see that sunspot. So I'm convinced that's a sunspot. And that little vibration, I'm not touching that. That's just little tiny vibrations in the ground, or that's little vibrations caused by the wind, or something. But the movement on the sun, you can see, is the sun moving. Pretty fascinating. I'm going to go through more of the white balance pre and see if anything interesting. Well, okay, so never mind. None of the other settings on white balance did anything whatsoever. In fact, some of them seem to distort it more. And so what you're looking at right now is everything on automatic. Even the ISO is now on automatic, and I'm pretty sure that automatic puts it all the way as low as it goes, which is 50. By the way, this is a Sanyo Exacti camcorder, which is pretty good for what it is. I didn't want to risk my better camcorder shooting it straight at the sun like this, so I'm using the Exacti. So this is the Sanyo Exacti, and the exact numbers I don't see on this camera. Probably be a good idea to get this out of the way. The nope, don't see the actual number of the name of the camera. So it's a Sanyo Exacti. But there's a good look at the sun. This is a way to do it. I think that probably the only other thing I'll do is try to force the ISO a little higher to let just a touch more light in. We'll take it up to 100 or 200. I'll be right back, and I'll tell you what it was. Okay, so this final clip, this is with everything on automatic except for the ISO is forced onto 200. Try to zoom in there. And does that make that sunspot come out even clearer? Not really. So I think that I was right in the first place to have the ISO as low as it goes at 50. It's really, really, really hard to film the sun. But like, say for example, that image right there, that is a look at it under optical zoom, and a good look at what you can do with your average camcorder and a 3.5-inch floppy disk. So I hope this was interesting, and stay tuned for more. Always tinkering around with stuff, but it's mostly toys on this channel. But stay tuned for a lot more of this if you're interested in this, and I thank you for watching.